Hey guys, it's Shay with Shay's Urban Edibles. Today I wanted to bring you guys along for a quick pickling video. I'll be pickling banana peppers. Come along. So you'll want to start off by picking as many fresh peppers as possible from your garden. If you don't have peppers in your garden, it's okay to purchase the peppers from the store and pickle those as well. Once you've picked as many peppers as you possibly can, you'll want to take them inside and wash them. You want to make sure they are clean when they're going into the jar because you do not want any contaminants to affect the shelf life of your peppers. Also, remember to bring your scissors out to cut the peppers from the plant. You don't want to damage your plant like I'm doing. Good thing it's close to the end of the season, right? All right, now it's time to select the herbs that you want to add individually into each jar. You can use the herbs of your choice. I am going to go with celery seed, black peppercorn, mustard seed, and then I'll also be adding a clove of garlic into each jar, in addition to an eighth of a teaspoon of pickle crisp. I believe some other good choices of herbs or spices that you could add to these banana peppers would be turmeric, red pepper flakes, which would give it a little more kick, and then you could also add in some onion as well if you like pickled onions. Okay, so while you're adding your sliced peppers into the jars, you do want to make sure that the jars are overfilled, because once you process them in the canner, what will happen is the peppers will shrink and that will leave a space at the bottom of the jar. You want to make sure the jars look full, and so you want to definitely make sure you overstuff the jars. All right, so let's get this brine started. The brine consists of equal parts of a distilled vinegar, 5% acidity, and water. So 2 cups of water, 2 cups of vinegar. You can also add in a tablespoon of pickling salt, and you do want to use pickling salt because the pickling salt does not have an anti-caking agent in it. The table salt does. So if you use table salt, what will happen is your brine will be cloudy. It won't stay clear. The pickling salt is good for keeping a clear brine. I will also be adding in a tablespoon of sugar to kind of reduce the acidity in the vinegar. So 2 cups of water, 2 cups of vinegar, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of pickling salt. Some people also decide to add their herbs or their spices at this point when they're making the brine. I, on the other hand, decided to put my spices into the jar, directly into the jar. All right, so the brine has boiled long enough to dissolve the sugar and the salt, so it is ready to be used. And I'll be adding it to my jars momentarily. All right, it's time to fill the jars with the brine. Like I said, I filled the jars with the sliced peppers to capacity, pressed it down a little bit and added a few more. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the brine, and what I will do with adding the brine is leave a 1/2 inch headspace, which means I'll fill the brine all the way to the shoulders of the jar, and that will leave enough space for air to escape and allow the jars to seal properly. Once the jars have been filled, leaving a 1/2 inch headspace, I will go ahead and clean the rims of the jars to make sure there's nothing between the lid and the jar to keep the jar from sealing properly. And then I'll place the lids on the jars fingertip tight. I always do mine just a tad bit more. Keep in mind, this recipe can be used for whole peppers as well as sliced peppers. If you decide to use the whole pepper, then you want to make sure you poke holes in the peppers. That allows the brine in the pepper to help with the pickling process. All right, now that we've added our spices, our peppers, our brine, cleaned the rims and added the lids on fingertip tight, we want to go ahead and start loading these peppers into the canner. The water must be boiling before you add the peppers into the canner, and once you add them to the canner, the water will no longer be boiling. Hence the reason why I'm going to set my time clock for 12 minutes instead of 10. The additional 2 minutes that I'm adding to the time clock will allow the water to come back up to the boiling point. Once it's boiling, then you process it for 10 minutes. And the 10 minutes could be different for you. It kind of depends on the altitude of where you are. All right, so the peppers have boiled for the full 10 minutes. I'm going to remove them from the canner and set them on the counter, but there will be a towel between the peppers and the counter so that they're not sitting directly on the counter. That'll keep them from bursting. If you sit them on a cold counter and the peppers are coming out piping hot, that's going to be an issue. So you definitely want to make sure there is some type of padding on the counter to keep you from setting the hot jars on a cool counter. Another thing that I didn't mention earlier is that you can add a little bit of vinegar to your canning water. That keeps your jars from having any residue once they come out of the canner. So there's my finished product. I appreciate you all for joining me. If you found something interesting in this video or you liked it, I'd appreciate it if you could like, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.